had a unique experience where I have a dear friend who is also in the expert industry. He has been a dear friend for many years, and we're more friends than anything else. I talk about business with him occasionally, but it's more of a connective business than anything else. And one day we were sitting around and having a cup of coffee, and he looked at me and says, "Would you do me a favor?" Absolutely, happy to do that. And he looked at me in the eye and he said, "Would you look at my company? I don't seem to be able to get what I used to be in. Things have changed." And that's an interesting question. And so I said, absolutely happy to. So I went back and I started looking. Now, I know this gentleman for many years, and I know he's got good information, great ideas, and the ability to really deliver in some of the most spectacular ways. What he does is actually very effective and helps a lot of people. So I started looking at what his view would be from an outside person, from someone who's looking in to see if this individual is real and if they know, like, and trust. What I realized was that there was such inconsistency of the message across platforms and throughout the process that people are confused and walk away. One of the things that we have a tendency to do is think that we need to follow every trend on a regular basis in each one of the areas that we're doing. So your social media may be doing one thing for one area, one thing for another. You may be doing something different on YouTube and something different on Twitter and something different on Instagram or whatever it is at the time. In many ways, what we find is that then your messaging that is on the website was different than the messaging that was in the social media, which is different in the messaging and how the close happens and different in the messaging and how it's delivered. This brand inconsistency creates concern in the market. So the more that we can understand the brand from the customer point of view, this is sometimes very difficult because you're going to see the trees and you're worried about everything that's going on and exactly how that video is going to land and things like that. And you're not looking at the forest and realizing that your entire brand is inconsistent. It's a disparate system. And therefore, if they see you, it doesn't quite transform your brand from a collection of messages into a movement. Every time a customer encounters your brand, you have the opportunity to tell a compelling story that builds trust and drives growth. Companies with consistent brand messaging see 33% higher profits, better employee retention, and become more likely to recommend by satisfied customers. So how do you go about doing that? Start taking a look at the entire customer journey. As the customer escalates into your company, is the message the same all the time? Have you fallen into the habit of chasing the various social media trends or internet trends or web trends because you heard that word? And what happens is if you're not looking at this as an entire project and you're looking at it to just get a number of views or ideas in something else, you're not going to have a consistent brand. That's one of my 10 rules for any company, which I did as a free download. If you're interested, check in the notes in the bottom for a link to get those 10. But one of them is inconsistency of brand, where you start chasing the trends that may or may not work for the company that you're in. So there is a tendency, especially in social media, to try and still achieve those massive numbers that used to happen on a regular basis. You know, when you put up a Facebook post, you got 10,000 likes. The industry has changed, but the memory has not. So the industry has changed in that, so you're always chasing that next thing and always asking, how can I go viral and how can I get more customers? Well, you absolutely want to be thinking that, but you don't want to degrade your brand because of some trend. I had one gentleman who was in the real estate market who decided that he wanted to be on Twitter and work on his material in more casual setting. Well, that's great, and he got some traction on Twitter, but regretfully, that wasn't the population that he was looking for his real estate market. And therefore, even though he was getting good numbers, he got good numbers but no traction. And then when they went to his website, it was much more formal, it was much more stoic, it was much more real estate, and therefore they would transfer over and drop off. That inconsistent brand, you not showing up in every area the same way, really impacts how you're going to be viewed by the market, especially if you're doing some social media buying or some buying on the social media platforms. So if you bought a Facebook ad and you had your face in bright colors and you moved over to sign up on your website and the banners don't look the same, the people don't look the same. I had one individual who insisted on using pictures that were 20 years younger. And I get it, we all age, it's never a great thing, but this individual was doing videos now and the website was showing 20 years younger and they looked different. And as soon as we've got the pictures aligned, we actually increased our opt-ins by almost 20% because people got to something and they did not feel like they were being deceived. That inconsistent branding, inconsistent message over everything becomes more and more important, especially when you get to volume. If you're putting 1,000 people to your website and they can't find exactly what they need in exactly the right minute, they're going to leave. And if they see something on a social media post and they get to something that looks completely inconsistent on a website, they're going to think it's spam and you're trying to trick them. And that's exactly what this individual was happening. They looked different, they had a different color scheme, and they didn't bother to make sure the customer experience, the branding experience, was clean all the way through. From the beginning, when they first saw it, to the end. And in fact, what happens is, if you're not consistent, especially with things like sales pages, they're willing to buy, and then the sales page looks completely different because you're using an inexpensive sales system, or you didn't really optimize it for, you didn't actually keep the same name of the product from the sales product process to the actual checkout process. That is an indication, and they drop off. At one point, we were seeing a 20% lower click-through rate because someone had actually not created the product that had the exact same name as the thing that was being sold. It was exactly the same product. It was slightly different and looked a little different, and everyone thought that they were being cheated. This inconsistency of branding throughout the entire process stops people in their tracks. A consistent branding not only gets better sales and retention, but also gets you more and more known in the market. If you have someone who shows up and you say, oh, I'm from Facebook, that is a much bigger brand than say Meta, but Meta is a bigger company. But Meta hasn't been around as long, so everyone still thinks about it Facebook. And I did that in this video when I called it Twitter instead of X. They have changed the name, and it's going to take some time to get that done, to get that knowledge, to get that process in place. The more consistent we are with branding over a period of time, the greater retention and the more memorable we're going to be. I know some people who change their brand and change their name on a regular and consistent basis because they're going to do something else. And in many ways, serial entrepreneurs have a problem with this because they're always building something new. If they get the consistent brand over years, that gives you the ability to really get a good conversation. People know who you are and they see it all around. If you take a look at some of the high-end brands, the consistency is astounding. In the fashion industry, the moment you encounter that brand, through every step of the process, including the checkout, including how you receive the package, including how you open that package, is a consistent brand experience idea. You could take a real note out of these understandings, both of the online and offline presence. Your inconsistent branding in any way, shape, or form creates a speed bump or creates friction that doesn't allow the individual to actually have a frictionless existence and purchase that product. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take a look at your brand from a consumer's set of eyes, or get someone else to do an audit of that so that they can take a look and start seeing what you may not see. You're so focused on the trees that you miss the forest. Take that the brand and take a look at where it came from, because it's just as important to figure out where you're starting to go wrong. Was it because you decided to follow some social media trends? Was it that you did a color change on a product? Was it a decision that you made certain things that were going wrong because you thought you could do it better? Find out what that is, because that's going to be valuable. And then start getting back to your brand identity. Start getting back to how everything is consistent. That consistency becomes very, very important so that people continue to feel and trust the knowledge of where you are. Many times we see brands that are iconic. What I'd love you to do is in the comments below, tell me what brand you think is iconic and why. I mean, things that come to me of memory are all the fashion brands, but what other brands are yours that become iconic and have done a really good job of brand identity over a period of time? Put your answer in the comments below and let's continue the conversation. I look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks for tuning into today's episode on the Strategy Session, where we take your business from stuck to unstoppable. Here's another video I think you'd enjoy. If you found these insights valuable, remember to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell for notifications on our latest videos. Want to transform your business with expert strategies? Schedule your strategy session today by clicking the link in the description below. Remember, you're not just marketing, you're making history with Venture Gained. See you in the next video.